Louie C. the Mayor checking in. What is going on, my people? Listen, man, we are 1 week away from the election. All love right now. We had a little bit of rain in Key West, but we're about to get it on. We're going to be talking some Fantasy Fest today. Shout out to my people, FloridaKeysEnergy.com. Lawyers for all accidents in the Keys. If you have an accident on a moped, car, bicycle, or God forbid on that ocean, them boys at FloridaKeysEnergy.com, 302 Southern Street, are going to take good care of you. Locals taking care of locals. And Dr. B, the #1 doctor in America, Dr. Burrows, backed up by Dr. Tricks and Dr. Pucci. Advanced Urgent Care Key West Marathon in Key Largo, free COVID-19 testing. And man, what a breakthrough on the AUC 89 plan. Finally, some affordable health care. And I got to tell you, I keep telling you about this place. We pulled up the other day. This place right here, Paradise, 124 Duval Street. 20 years, been looking for a new place to eat Cuban food. Finally found one. The problem is you're going to get lost 3 times before you find this place. It's hard to find, but once you find it, it'll be good to go. Me and my man, who is Michael Knowles on production, had some great dish over there, the roast pork. Everything was lovely there. Please hit the notifications button right over here. Boop! And those of y'all watching worldwide on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button right over here. Boop! We taking all Fantasy Fest questions today. And this man right here been doing it for a long time. He's a gentleman and a scholar. Steve Robbins on All Pro. What is going on, sir? Nice mask.
Thank you, Louie.
How you doing today? Everything kosher?
Excellent. I stayed dry today, so that little rainstorm we had this morning came and went. So
I'm going to tell you what I say all day, every day, 24/7, 365. As long as we dodging hurricanes, we good around here. So a little rainstorm, cloudy, but we can't afford no more hurricanes this year. Yeah. We could do the Miami Hurricane 305 football team. You like football?
I like football.
Who you like?
College-wise, FSU would be the
Florida
Seminoles.
State. So see, Florida State on this side, he'll stay on his side. And I'm 305 Dade County with them Hurricanes all day. Yeah. So Steve, the first thing I want to talk about is, before we get into, let's give people an introduction, because we're here worldwide on the YouTube. There's people that don't know you from Adam. So just a little background on yourself and what you got going on with Key West and how long you've been around these parts.
Okay, yeah, no, I've been in Key West for now 25 plus years. I've been in the hotel business here. That's what brought me here. I was here for the original opening of the Hilton Hotel, which now everybody knows is Margaritaville Resort.
Nice.
But that was a nice property, still a nice property back in 1995 when we opened. And I've stayed in the hotel business throughout. And I'm also involved with the Fantasy Fest Board of Directors. And that's why I'm here today. And I've been involved with that for the good part of 15 years or more, along with some of the other activities I do here in Key West.
Well, Steve, I've known you for a long time. You used to break bread with one of my mentors, the Spotswood family, good old Bill Spotswood as a character. And thank you for everything you do for the community. And I want to give a couple shout outs here before we start. Pablo Ali said that certified shirt is snapping. 305 Mari. I just got this the other day. Anybody that's a young person coming up, we got to support these people, man. The youth is the future. I got Doris Jones checking in, all love right now. If you got any questions on anything, let me know. Anna Metric, are you carrying over the theme for this year? He's going to get into that here in a second. That's a good question. Pablo Ali, I see you. So let's get to the meats and potatoes going on. We took a hard loss. Me and you had several conversations. We threw Hail Marys, several, but we just couldn't salvage the Fantasy Fest. It wasn't in the cards this year, but we're going to be bigger and better and stronger next year, guaranteed, for the Fantasy Fest 2021. So quick question, how much revenue does Fantasy Fest generate for the city of Key West?
Well, we've asked that question many times. Actually, the city can't put their finger on that number just because of the way tax revenues are calculated. But, from the hotel perspective, and then I know immediately as far as bars and restaurants are concerned, it's substantial. It's millions of dollars. The hotels, fortunately, run very high occupancies during that period, and as well as they command very strong rates because of the demand in the market. So you're looking at millions, and that translates right down to staff members, because those visitors are bringing substantial dollars to the community and leaving them behind. So big numbers.
Yes, and like you said, the occupancy levels through the roof. This probably our biggest party of the year, and it saved a lot of stuff from going bust back in the day when we first started this, and it keeps getting better and better each year. And I just want to know how you guys feel out there. Are you for Fantasy Fest or you're against Fantasy Fest? Because like I said here on the podcast, we like to get everybody coming in, and we could agree to disagree as long as you put respect on people's name. Is not a problem. For the record, I'm not 100, not 200, not 1,000, not 10,000, not 100,000. I'll go all the way to 1,000,000,000% for Fantasy Fest. I'm in the entertainment business, and I think it's great for the community. And there's always people that don't like to participate in Fantasy Fest, so I call it like a movie. If you don't like the movie, don't buy a ticket. You don't have to go down there. Nobody force you to go down there to Duval Street. But I got to tell you, everything's been going pretty good, and I look forward to 2021. I've been with you guys for a long time, almost for 15 years. Grew from one party all the way to six major events now, and little by little we get there. Mike, if we could get some people up in here, that'll be great. Can you explain the executive breakdown of Fantasy Fest? Because a lot of people don't know the inner workings of Fantasy Fest. That will be outstanding.
Okay, yeah, the what is called the Tourist Development Association, TDA, is the actual owners of the Fantasy Fest brand. TDA was orchestrated some 41 plus years ago by some local businessmen. Many of you would know Tony Falcone.
It's a pioneer.
Yeah, absolutely. Living legend. Fast Buck Freddy's, and then what he did along with...
If it wasn't for him, there'd probably be no Fantasy Fest.
Well, him along with, I agree, and him along with Joe Liska and Frank Romano from Key West Aloe.
Gotcha.
Those were some of they were the originals, along with, others that were here in Key West at the time. But, way back when, it was a pretty quiet time of year in the fall, so they saw this as an opportunity. So they created and established a nonprofit organization, and again, Tourist Development Association, which consists of a board of approximately 9 members is typically what's on the board. It's a mixture of hotel people, restaurants, attractions potentially, and other members. So it's a nice cross-section of people.
Nice.
The TDA then hires an event coordinator who currently is Nadine Grossman, or with her company called We've Got the Keys. She took over after Linda O'Brien had retired.
Good old Linda. Shout out to Linda. I ain't seen her in a while. She went missing.
She retired and moved to Virginia Beach. Wow. So she's up a little bit north of us. She's living and hopefully enjoying her life.
A pioneer. She ran that festival for a long time.
I think she was involved. I think she was with the event for 25 plus years.
Wow.
Fantasy Fest is 41 years old, and regrettably, 41 years. This is the first year it's being canceled. There was a time where we had to postpone it because of a hurricane, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And it came back in early December, and we put it on. But this is the first actual cancellation. So, again, the TDA board hires the event coordinator. We have a contract with them to manage those day-to-day operations. And the board it gives oversight, as is typical of most boards for any organization.
Gotcha. I got Tangela Edwards coming in, all love right now. Christopher Valdez, what is going on, sir? Listen, on Tuesday, next Tuesday, is going to go down. Peter checking in all the way from New York City. DJ DOS all the way live on Thursday night, WOW 927 FM. Make sure you check them out. We're going in. Let me ask you something, Steve. What do you say to those people that think Fantasy Fest is too risque?
Well, every year when we're selecting a theme and looking at the potential for, that theme, costuming is always key. And we always do our best to select a theme that is going to put into someone's mind a costume. And we do not support, nudity. We've worked very diligently to, ride that and walk that fence, let's say, between that risque. We want people to come down here, enjoy themselves, and stay within the boundaries. And we monitor those things closely. We put out a lot of information, but people like to dress up, and sometimes that dress up means they're dressing down a little bit. As long as it stays within reason, we're good with it.
Okay, well, I've been through a couple events myself, and I didn't see any type of risque stuff going on. I've been to Children's Day, and I didn't see a bit of risque whatsoever in any which way, shape, form, or fashion. I think the Children's Day has been involved there for a very long time, and they donate a lot of money to charity. I ain't seen one risque thing over there when I've been.
Absolutely.
I went to the pet masquerade. I see some dogs and cats and different type of animals. I ain't seen the first thing on risque over there at that event. And then I know it's not a Fantasy Fest event, but that zombie bike ride, I see a whole bunch of locals riding that zombie bike ride, happy as pie. I didn't see a whole bunch of risque stuff there. So that's 3 events off the top of my head that are not even in the risque category, because a lot of people that are in any type of city, you're gonna have people that just not gonna buy into the program. And like we talked about off camera, if you don't like the program, don't buy a ticket. But there are a lot of solid events that are not even close to risque. Is not even in the borderline. There's no risque period. So let's give it a fair chance and look at everything. But at the end of the day, the events that are contained on premise are private events. And I know for when we do the parade, which is fabulous, there's no risque whatsoever in any which way, shape, form. Not nudity allowed. Period, and it's really strictly enforced with a 0 tolerance.
Right.
So I think that you're doing good, but if you take the fun out of stuff, you kill event.
Don't take the fun out. And really honestly, you mentioned several events, but there's more events every day. There's events. The toga party on Thursday night,
right?
Whether even the Tutu Tuesday, it just goes on every single day with events. And you already said it. If it's not your cup of tea, you don't have to participate. You don't have to join in on that particular event, because you're really looking at multiple events going on throughout, the whole period of time. And that starts with Goombay that we don't want to leave out. Goombay, although not Fantasy Fest, kind of kicks off. It's the first night on that Friday when we typically crown the king and queen of Fantasy Fest, Goombay weekend. And I've been going to Goombay ever since I've been here. And that's a locally driven event. I see people every year that I probably haven't seen all year. I see them at Goombay.
You're not going to see risque or Goombay. What you will see is good old conch fritters.
Yeah, that's
good
right.
Old island seafood, and a lot of locals like Mr. Robbins say. So this is a perfect event. You see a whole bunch of kids. Now we've expanded all the way
down there
to
with
back,
the carnival.
With the carnival. I don't understand, and I'm open for suggestions of what you want these people to do, because a lot of people in entertainment, Steve, think that you just come in here, we turn the lights on, the music start playing, and then that's all that's involved, and then you get on TV. They don't know the pre-production, the tedious stuff that you have to deal with. Nadine Grossman, I think, is brought the event to a whole different level, and she's done very, very well. And she tries to appease everybody, but like I tell her, Nadine, I love you. You're never going to appease all these people, because somebody's going to complain about something. But just keep doing what you're doing. But once again, if you take the fun out of Fantasy Fest, you might as well not have Fantasy Fest. But to me, people look forward to that income based on their whole year. That's when they get that big boost. And when you lose that, like now, you see how many businesses are out, because it's just not the revenue coming in, and we're live and die by tourism. That's why I like to see the city keep going into the one human family. I like to be inclusive to everybody. I like to include all the people. Like we have so many people that come from Fantasy Fest, and I just like these people to be treated with respect, because you being in the hotel business, how much it's going to cost you to stay down here for 10 days by the time you had everything in for Fantasy Fest? How much that average couple spending?
The average couple for that week, easily $5,000 will be on the low side.
Yeah.
It would not be unusual for people to spend $10,000 for that week.
Without blinking.
They want to come down, enjoy themselves, have nice accommodations. And typically they're coming with friends. So it's not even just one couple, they're coming down here together. And, I want to point out, Fantasy Fest, is world renowned. I mean, we are one of the signature events across this country. There's no doubt. If you look up, the festivals, top 10, top 20 festivals around, Fantasy Fest is almost always going to, be right there at the top or near the top of that list, always being recognized. And that's driving people here at other times of year because Key West is just, noticed. Fantasy Fest, we're not going to give it up, that's for sure.
No.
And, although this year is, unfortunately canceled due to circumstances, it was tough, but we're looking forward and excited about 2021. And we've got a great theme. I think the question came up, are we going to have the same theme next year? No, we're not. A new theme is in the works, and we're finalizing those details, so that will be announced here very shortly. And we're excited that we've got a new theme that's going to move beyond the Roaring 20s of 2020.
Nice.
And we'll look forward to 2021, and it's going to be a big event next year.
Where y'all watching from? If you're coming in here on the podcast, let me know where y'all at. Any questions on Fantasy Fest 2021? This will be the time. Hit the notifications button right over here. Woo! And on YouTube worldwide, the subscribe button right over here. Woo! And we reaching thousands daily. So if you want to sponsor the show, make sure you inbox us. So what's the game plan for next year, 2021? Because now we got a lot of time now because we lost this year. So I think we're going to be very well planned out and ready to go because I foresee for sure everything getting back to normal. You got to think positive always.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we'll have the biggest one because we missed a year out. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of people I heard just, renewed their memberships coming in for next year because I'll be honest, we had sold some tickets already. We were early in the game.
Yeah.
And some of them people did not request refunds. They just wanted to extend their tickets for the event for next year. So what do you foresee for 2021?
Okay, and I see that same thing. As a hotel person, I saw the vast majority of our reservations just pushed the reservations to next year.
Right.
So very happy to see that. They want to come, and they just are going to push that to next year. Fortunately, we are going to have some people down here this year. It's not going to be Fantasy Fest, but
Right.
some people have kept their reservations because
Yeah.
they already had flights. They already had
Right.
travel arrangements that it didn't make sense to change. So they're going to come down to Key West regardless.
Right.
It won't be the same, Fantasy Fest, but at the same time, they'll still be visitors. As far as next year goes, though, we're going to gear up, and we want it to be spectacular, of course, because having a year off.
Yeah, we ready.
And I want to comment too. Even though we're taking a year off, there's been some excitement about this year's Fantasy Fest. So we went ahead because we'd already done the poster contest that we've done annually.
Yeah.
So that poster is available at fantasyfest.com. It's selling very well, interestingly. I thought that was great. And then also the shirts that we had designed that we do every year, signature design for Fantasy Fest, and that's also in the print process right now. So that's going to be available.
And also, I want to congratulate you, Nadine, for putting this fund together. I forgot about this.
Yes, absolutely.
The fund to help people in need. This is incredible. So you see, this is another positive stuff. That these people didn't have to put any fund together. They do this out of the kindness of their heart. We already lost hundreds and hundreds and millions of dollars, and we are putting funds together for the people. Power to the people. This is an incredible situation. So I just wanted to thank you. I think that was outstanding. And do you know anything about that fund at all, where people could go? Do you have any information on that?
I know if you go to fantasyfest.com, right there on the homepage, as you scroll down and you read, the regret that we had to cancel. Right. There is the dialogue, and then there's a link that takes you to that fund. And it's locals helping locals. Let's put it that way, because it's not only Fantasy Fest being canceled. You're looking at, as we all know, or those that live here know, all events essentially have been canceled for the remainder of 2020. So, we looked forward to the fall after August, September. Usually it was a typical slower period. Right. Fantasy Fest was kind of the kickoff. We had Fantasy Fest, and you have Parrot Heads, and then you have the boat races. Those are back-to-back events that, really stimulate the economy in the fall. Boat races. And, those things are off the plate right now. And so, we're looking to see what we can do to help. And so, yes, fantasyfest.com. Scroll down. You'll see the link and anything we can do, the little bit helps. And hey, we want to see everything come back.
Listen,
bigger and better.
On my name, on Louie C. the Mayor name, next year 2021. Right now, y'all need to start planning right away. Book hotel rooms right away, right now. And this party gonna be so big. Me and Steve gonna work on as close as we get to 100% occupancy, because they never gonna stop the party. And right now, me and you, we come from the school trying to have the show go always, the show must go on. So the best thing that could happen is that we make a strong turnaround. Not enough time for Fantasy Fest, obviously, but we might be able to salvage some stuff at the end of the year. Number one being the New Year's Eve, because I wish New Year's Eve came tomorrow without this goddamn pandemic or whatever, and forget about it, skip over this whole year or whatever. So you got to stay positive. Good news is, from our health professionals, things are looking positive. Cases are starting to drop somewhat. The hospital beds are starting to clear up, so that's good news. Dr. Burrows has been on top of game. Ivermectin, another medicine that we had success with 4 people that were in dire straits and took this medicine, and we're doing great. You know this character right here? See him on the screen right there?
Oh, Jack Norris, yes.
Our festivals will be back. We will get through this together. I'll stand
No
there,
doubt
live
about it.
from the horse's mouth. There,
Yeah, right from our health professionals. That's absolutely the case.
We're back in business. How's that good old girl Nadine Grossman doing? And hopefully she'll come back and renew her contract, because there's a lot of pressure this year or whatever. So she's still got a couple years on her contract? Or?
Well, and interestingly, actually, both of our contracts are up. Our contract with the city of Key West is up.
Wow, you ain't telling me that.
So we're preparing to come back to the city commission and renew, request our. We've typically had 5-year agreements, and so that's going to be forthcoming here very soon. And along with that, we will. Renew the contract that we have, an agreement we have with We've Got the Keys and Nadine Grossman Orr. She's been doing a tremendous job. This is quite a challenge because, of course, her compensation is tied to Fantasy Fest occurring and its success. So, regrettably, this is a big hit across the board. And as a business person, when your income is removed, you have to work through it, and it's just the way it is. And we're partially funded by the Tourist Development Council, as everybody knows, the TDC. Those are tax dollars that our visitors pay. And being that this event is canceled, all funding associated with Fantasy Fest through the TDC is also canceled. And
it doesn't roll over either.
And it does not roll over. It's a new ball game next year.
Start from scratch.
We start from scratch. And the TDC is affected by this because, again, all the money that the TDC distributes, whether it's capital funding for beach renourishment, beach cleanup, the things that we do all the time, to events that support and funded, those funds are considerably down. Of course, we were, March, then we were closed in April and May, and I mean zeros, across the board. So there's a substantial shortfall coming in the budget this coming year. So we're looking ahead.
Some people have a problem with the TDC. I have none whatsoever. I think you need to promote the island, and especially now you need to do more promotion than you did before, because we're missing a whole bunch of people. When we, like Steve says, if his hotel is full at 100%, he might cut back on budget. When we are 28%, we need to go to 128% of promotion on the hotel. So, just common sense when you come from the entertainment field. How much funding does the TDC contribute to Fantasy Fest?
It can, it arranges each year, it changes. It can go from as low, I'm using the last several years as examples. The TDC contributes anywhere from $120,000, I think, up to $190,000. So, and that's throughout the Keys. The TDC is funded in different DACs. It's called Key West, Lower Keys, Middle Keys, Upper Keys, and then the Isla Morada area as well. So, but that funding is, we get some from Key West, some from the Lower Keys, some from Marathon. Haven't seen any from the Upper Keys in the last several years, but we continue to look at how we can help promote, because they do benefit up the Keys from some increased occupancy and increased rates just because of compression, it's called.
Gotcha.
So, it's big dollars.
DOS checking in. Pete, I see you. He says happy birthday to hip hop. Hip hop, that's where I started at. So happy birthday. Also, if you want to find out information on what's going on, go to the official Facebook page of Fantasy Fest, which is under Fantasy Fest. And for our events here, personally, go to Fantasy Fest Celebrity Parties. All love right now. Hit the subscribe button right over here. Woo! And those of y'all watching on YouTube worldwide, hit the subscribe button there. Boop, and you subscribe to our channel. And make sure you get notified here on the Facebook, so like that when we come on, you know what's happening. I understand that you are in the hotel business.
I've been in the hotel business, so my career's been built on, and I've been
Where are you at now?
I manage some guest houses down here on Duval Street, the Wicker Guest House. It's part of the Key West Hospitality Inns group, and I have the good fortune now of having a small guest house myself on South Street. And that's after, you mentioned earlier, I worked for the Spotswood family, had good fortunes working with them. I opened that Hyatt and the Ferro Blanco Resort up in Marathon before, coming back down to Key West for these guest house.
Which one is the one on South Street?
It's called an Island Oasis.
An Island Oasis.
Yeah, corner
Let me tell you, this
Vernon
man
and South.
This man been in the business a long time. How many rooms you got over there?
Well, at South Street we have 6. It's a small guest house, but collectively our group, we have 53 rooms.
Wow.
And I can give a shout out to the DoubleTree. I opened back in 2000 time frame.
Michael Knowles had a birthday the other day. Happy birthday,
before
sir.
Michael Knowles took over. Yeah. After I left there, and then I was on the boulevard there before those hotels got redeveloped.
Yeah.
Back 10 years ago, and
Sure.
again that original Hilton back in the day, how it brought me to Key West originally. So
people, it's funny because sometimes I just make a joke. I say, you know what? Next thing you know, they're going to replace cruise ships with a casino, and the people go to panicking. So that's pretty funny, but you never know. You never know what could happen or whatever. I do know one thing: we need y'all to vote. Coming up next Tuesday, the supervisory election has challenged me to get 85% of the vote, which is tough. A lot of people don't vote. This time you really need to vote. For example, this gentleman is going up for a contract, and if he doesn't get the right contract, there won't be any Fantasy Fest. So we got to make sure we support this and go from there, because like I said, it should be easy to go get a contract based on what we bid on 2020, but as we know, things are not easy sometimes or whatever, and there's a lot of politics involved, and you have to get the people that represent what you're about up there on that diocese. If you get other people, then we're cooked. Speaking about that, I don't know about you, and I just keep it blood raw. I'm very disappointed with this 11 o'clock closing. I don't think that it's a good message for tourism, and that's just coming from me. I understand, which I didn't like it being done from the lobster mini season, because as far as I checked, the COVID don't turn off at 11, at 10, at 8. COVID is still going 24 hours a day or whatever. And as you know, restaurants don't make a lot of money after 11 o'clock, but it's a message that we're sending out. To me, you're in the customer service business. Every time I see people, I thank them for coming down here to the Keys or whatever. So I want people to feel happy, because if you don't treat customers well at the hotel, they're not going to go there. And at the city, every time you turn, they're trying to be negative with you. They'll find other places to go. There's a lot of places in the United States to go. You don't have to necessarily come here. So what's your opinion on this 11 o'clock closing?
Yeah, I think the 11 o'clock, I'm still hoping to see the bars get an opportunity to reopen. And, it's one thing to have restrictions, but just to close businesses entirely, what are they to do? But 11 o'clock is a little bit arbitrary. I kind of understand, we have to have some restrictions in place. That's why we're wearing masks, and, getting everybody to comply is a challenge, but that's a challenge we got to head face on. So
yes,
I
got an update for you, which you'll be happy to know. I forgot to tell you about this. So there's an organization called DBPR, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. Guess what happened? They put Key West on the map. Guess what's happened? They're coming here this week to talk about recommendations of what our bars could come to the table with to get an opinion how to get bars back open, and they put Key West on the stop. So this is what I ask everybody. The problem that I think that we got going on is that we don't get all the information from all types of walks of life or whatever. So if let's say I'm a politician, I have to talk to different people, because if I'm only with one group that wants one thing, they're going to keep saying the same thing over and over. But if you do your due diligence and you talk, I can respect that. But at the end of the day, there's 7 people out there, and I want all 7 involved in the city for a decision, because 3 might go one way, 4 might go the other way. And the majority with COVID-19 has not changed anything, the majority rule. And in the county, please go out there and talk to your commissioners. And if you don't feel that these 11 o'clock is justified, put their feet to the fire and see what we could do. But at the end of the day, Steve, nobody's trying to do a bad job. Everybody's trying to do well. But we have to eat down here, and if we lose our tourism, we lose our businesses, in my opinion.
The hospitality business is a primary business down here, and tourism is that, and we need to keep things open, and I know many of you maybe have been down Duval Street. You can see some of the closures that have been. We just can't have that continue on. We need to, somehow get back to what people are terming as the new normal. But even, some business is better than no business, let's put it that way right now, as we muddle through this period.
To conclude on that, there's one side which is completely running on a panic, I call them on the right side, and then there's people that's all the way left that don't want to follow protocol. That's all bad. Somewhere in the middle, with some common sense for business, because some people, let's be honest, didn't lose their paycheck at all through this whole thing. Yeah. And us, since March 17th on St. Patrick's Day, we've been shut down downtown, and we only opened briefly for a week. So if they keep saying shut down US 1, and I keep explaining to people that only in the world in Key West can you shut down an entrance point, because like you said, you just went to Miami, you didn't have to have a hotel reservation to go there. You could go to the mall, buy supplies, and come back. They could say we could shut you down from coming in here too, whatever. They don't do that, even though they're a hotspot. Contrary to belief, popular belief, we're not a hotspot. We're actually doing pretty well compared to the whole country. Are we perfect? No, nobody's perfect. So we just got to keep at it and go from there. And I'll be honest with you, I applaud the governor to sticking to his guns and not letting the US 1 be shut down, because that's his decision. It's not a city or county decision. And thank God for that, because not we would have been in serious pickle here. How much money do you think Fantasy Fest contributes and pays out to the city of Key West?
Well, we have an agreement with the city that's, at this time it's in the $100,000 range that we pay, and that is primarily to cover all the law enforcement, all of the medical services that have to be, all of the cleanup that has to take place, waste management wise. For those that have been down there for Fantasy Fest, you see a lot of porta johns. Those are all paid for as a part of this. The city, mandates to us certain criteria, and in turn, we're obligated to pay for those services and those items. Of course, safety is primary, and law enforcement, when you have large crowds of people, are necessary. And so, we don't challenge that. We work with the city. We work with law enforcement in every way. They have to bring in additional staff, because of course the Key West PD, Monroe County Sheriff themselves really can't handle such a large crowd, during those peak periods. So they do bring in some people from other law enforcement agencies as well. So it's a big expense, and it's a big event. And,
yes.
So
can't take the fun out of Fantasy Fest, or there's no Fantasy Fest. I want to cover this last thing here, which is the economics and the trickle-down effect, because a lot of people miss this. Like, for example, if there's something that comes into town that doesn't benefit me, I'm for one human family. If it benefits somebody else, that's great, because those people are able to make money off that. But what a lot of people miss, and I want you to be very clear on this, you just said a lot of things, right? Police, you got the sheriff, you got the fire, you got the public works.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to economic school to realize that your job hours are going to be more doing Fantasy Fest, because there's all hands aboard.
Absolutely.
Therefore, your revenue is going to be more on your paychecks, which is a boost for those people. So those people that made extra money, they could buy extra things for their household, and all those people are local. So when they say there's only benefit downtown, that is absolutely incorrect. This is as close as you can get to a fact. It's common sense, because more people are going to get more hours and basically help the town out. So it's a win-win situation. Even if you didn't go down there at all for any event, which we want you to go down there, if you're part of the One Human family, you would accept this and bless this, in my opinion.
There's no doubt. You could be in the automotive business, and if Fantasy Fest is successful, if events are successful, that's money in people's pocket to go get their vehicle repaired, serviced, and and buy new vehicles. So
Right.
that has nothing to do with what we might call the hospitality business or tourism, but it's
Trickle
trickled.
down.
I've talked to, when unfortunately Banner Tire closed down, but before, I had my tires always serviced there, and I talked to those guys. They'd tell me, oh my gosh, yeah, in the fall after Fantasy Fest, people have money in their pocket. They'll come in and get things taken care of, because
That's what it's all about.
you kind of pull yourself through August, September, or late summer kind of thing, and you look forward to it. I've had another hotelier tell me very specifically, they pay their property tax bill every year
Revenue.
based upon Fantasy Fest period, because of course it is a big revenue boost for them, and they in turn then hand that very substantial amount of property tax bill over to the county.
Nice.
And for those that don't know, and again talking about these things, hotels are the largest property tax contributors here in Monroe County. And that goes from Key West to Key Largo. So these are substantial dollars that impact everybody. Because if you enjoy the restaurants that you come and eat at, if we don't have those restaurants here year round, they're not going to be here when you want them.
Correct.
I can say that. So again, yes, not just Fantasy Fest, just tourism in general. It's the lifeblood of our economy down here. And I don't want to discredit anything that the military does, because they're substantial. They certainly contribute heavily to the economy. So in turn, with tourism and those folks, that's what's successful down here.
Larry Carey is watching. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. And I personally want to give a shout out to that good old boy Andy Newman from the TDC. That boy been doing it for a long time, and it's very challenged here on what's going on, and I fully support promotions, period, whether it be TDC, TDA, whatever it is, eat, leave, and breathe promotion. That's what we do around here. Shout out to FloridaKeysEnergy.com, Lord for all accidents of the Keys. If you have an accident in a car, bicycle, moped, or God forbid on that ocean, all you got to do is go to FloridaKeysEnergy.com, 302 Southern Street. Them local boys will take care of you. Friday, Dr. Burrow's coming in like the movie Fast and Furious. Advanced Urgent Care, Key West Marathon, and Key Largo free COVID-19 testing right now. And we getting people right back to work in 5 days. We moving around here. It's all love. And Paradise Restaurant, 20 years, finally found a new place to eat some Cuban food. My mom is Cuban, so I know what Cuban food should taste like. You're going to get lost at least 3 times. By the time you find it, boy, you're going to be happy as pie. And you're going to say something, I don't know how I lived out here 26 years and this place was here. But now that's my job. And Robbins, you want to give any shout outs before we get out of here to any people out there? Because I know you got a whole squad of people out there working, because, teamwork make the dream work.
Absolutely. No, I'd shout out to everybody, but I just say that thank you, Louie, for inviting me.
Yeah.
Glad to get the word out on Fantasy Fest. I ask all the support possible when we do go to the commission to renew our agreement for this next year. But I say support all events. And of course, I want to say thank you to my staff at the Key West Hospitality Inns, and then my own businesses that I'll mention. Barrett Printing out on Flagler Boulevard, along with Category 5 signs and local awards and engraving. If you want something custom made, come out and see us. There's certainly the staff there has been working hard throughout this pandemic, and they're there to help our locals.
Steve don't know it yet, but I got some sign business and I'm coming to see him. He don't know about it, but we're going to talk about it. Who is Michael Knowles on production today on top of the game? Make sure y'all stay positive and be part of the solution, not the problem. And I'm looking to a unanimous 7-0 supporting Fantasies 2021. Whoever don't support that got a problem with me. So let's just help these people. Matter of fact, we need to get these people extra funding this year. I'm already calling it right now. And make your plans to come down for Fantasy Fest. Check out Fantasy Fest celebrity parties. It's all good. And make sure whatever you do, vote or die next Tuesday is going down. Ha!